Today's podcast is sponsored by Fire Facilities Incorporated, expert engineers, designers, and manufacturers of steel training towers, burn rooms, and mobile units that are all made in the USA. Welcome back to 3 Point Firefighter. Today's guest is Chief Brandon Skaggs. Chief Skaggs is the fire chief for Clarksville, Indiana Fire Department. I've known Brandon for quite a few years, and he's an excellent human being, excellent chief, and he's got a lot of great ideas. Now, he got started in the fire service at 18 as a volunteer, and then in 2003, he became a career firefighter. He has a passion for command training, multi-agency drills, and public education. I cannot wait to talk to him. And hey, if you do me a favor, if you like the podcast, if you like the YouTubes, do you like the YouTubes? If you like my YouTubes, then please subscribe and like down below. And with that, Chief Brandon Skaggs. Welcome back to 3 Point Firefighter. Today's guest is Chief Brandon Skaggs from Clarksville Fire Department. Now, Chief Skaggs not gonna like me saying this, I can tell you right now. So if you're on YouTube, I want you to focus in on his face. He's not gonna like me saying this. So in my 28 years, I've been military, civilian, in America and overseas, a firefighter, okay? I've had a ton of fire chiefs. I have never met a fire chief as great as Brandon Skaggs. He hates when I say that. There it is. Look at it. He hates it. The truth of it is I have worked for a lot of chiefs. And I've had great ones and bad ones. I really have. But I have worked with you. I've known you for a while, but I've worked with you for several months on these live fires that we did. We'll bring that up in a little bit. And I've never, ever met a fire chief as go-get-em as you, as hardworking as you, and everything that you ask of your people, you're leading the front from the front there. And I think that's awesome. So Chief Brandon Skaggs, good on you, brother.
Well, that's a lot to live up to there, Jake. So thank you for the kind words, but I try to stay humble, and I really enjoy doing a lot of that stuff. So I consider myself I don't know if it's the right term, a working chief. Mm-hmm. I don't always have to be in command. I do take command a lot on some stuff, but I'll drag a line, and I'll flake some hose out when I need to, and I actually love it. That's been one of the hardest things to do, to try to stop doing as a chief, is still getting in there and getting it, and I still love every minute of it.
Oh, clearly. So, well, you know what? I tell you what, let's start this way. Why don't you tell me what got you in the fire service and bring me all the way up to speed to where you're at now?
Okay. Well, started off as a child, actually.
We all started off as children, just so you know.
We did. Yeah, I wasn't born like this, but no, my interest sparked with a gentleman named Battalion Chief Dave Sparks at New Albany Fire Department. And
I've heard of him.
Dave is, you know him? Yeah.
I've heard of him.
He's married to my cousin. And when I was a child, his wife, they babysat me while my parents worked. My father was a police officer. And I'm
sorry to hear that.
I know, right? But I'll tell you about that in a minute. That changed years after. But yeah, so I would go to the firehouse with Debbie, and she would see her husband Dave. And I met a guy named Leroy Murphy, and Leroy Murphy was an older firefighter for New Albany, and I was just naturally, amazed by him. He would go the extra mile, make sure he'd show me the trucks, give me a ride in the truck, things like that. So it kind of started at an early age, hanging around New Albany Fire Department. And then my father got laid off as a police officer and got called back to work. And he had requested to switch to the fire service. And he became a Clarksville firefighter. So about 7 years old, I started, hanging around Clarksville Fire Department, and really grew up in that fire station. With just different things, Crusade for Children, just going up every day, seeing my dad, getting to know the guys. And, but it just seemed natural to be there. It wasn't like, hey, I wasn't searching for what I wanted to do. It just felt like that's what I'm supposed to do. I don't know if you call it a family legacy or what, but it really has been just easy for me to accept that as my career and enjoy it.
That's great. So when you got up to Clarksville, did you ever, were your plans ever to be a fire chief? or did that just kind of happen?
When I had my interview to be a career firefighter, they asked me was a question that was kind of gauged as what are some of your goals, long term, short term, and being fire chief was never my long term goal at that moment. It wasn't probably till I became an officer, a ranked officer, I became a lieutenant, that I really liked the opportunity to be in charge and maybe make a difference in the department, make it better, and the opportunity came. I was offered the chief's job, and it was something that I took back to my family and talked to them about, with schedule change, responsibility change, and we all agreed that it was a good move. And I've been chief. I started my 7th year, January 1st.
That's awesome. And so I got a big shout out to your deputy, DJ, right? Chief Johnson. Yep. He's great. Love him. And so I'm a fan of Clarksville. I've made that known. If any firefighters in Clarksville know this, this. I love Clarksville Fire Department, right? I love my department. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy where I'm at, but I got to say, I love me some CFD. Even before you, the chief before you and the deputy chief before you, Chief Tom Upton and Deputy Chief Hendricks, love those guys too. So yep. It seems to me that Clarksville has always had good leadership, right? And good guys, and really do a great job of protecting their community. And your community has grown quite a bit.
It has. A little bit about Clarksville. We don't have the largest footprint in the area. We serve about 10 square miles, but inside of those 10 square miles, we pack a lot of things in there. We have all the big box stores that anybody would want in our town, which is kind of unusual because you got, New Albany and Jeffersonville right next to us. I mean, they have big boxes, but we have a lot of big box stores. So that draws a lot of consumers into our area. Christmas time in Clarksville, it's just swamped. We only have 22,000 residents, but we're hitting, I don't even know what numbers we're hitting, really, to be honest with you. It's got to be 50 to 100,000 people in those holiday weekends and everything, at least. People just traveling through.
I avoid Veterans and Veterans Parkway and Lewis and Clark Parkway this time of year, as much as I can. Like you said, everybody. So for those listening, Clarksville, so New Albany, Clarksville, and Jeffersonville, if you go all the way south in Indiana, you're going to hit the Ohio River. And that's where all three of us are at, New Albany, Jeff, and Clark. So
Interstate 65.
Yeah, Interstate 65. So Louisville, Kentucky is a great big city. People come over here to shop. And that's what you're talking about, that your daily and weekend population goes up through the roof. Now, how many firehouses and firefighters do you have?
So we have three houses, and we got great locations. They're strategically placed, but we have 43 members, including my admin staff. So each crew has 12 to 13 firefighters on it. We're in between we're expanding right now with our personnel. So some crews have 13, some crews have 12. We're growing, and that was we're able to do that with some funding changes that we made in the last 2 years. Project that I took on with the town manager. And
was that project to give you and DJ a raise of $300,000 a year each?
Oh man, yeah, we don't make that combined already, So, but yeah, it was a pretty tough project, but we got it, and we're expanding right now. So currently, we have 3 crews, 12 to 13 on each crew, with a 9-man minimum.
Right. People should get on YouTube and check out my channel, and you will see a actual fire chief sitting in a beanbag in a basement. So that's awesome. Now tell me about
I'm in this little dungeon here I'm in.
You bought the house to redo it. Why don't you just buy a house that's already done? You don't have to do anything to it.
I spent about 7 months redoing a home over in Blackston Heights, which was a fantastic house. And my wife had this crazy idea she wanted to move down, the southern part of Clarksville. And so here I am again, redoing another home. And when I say I'm doing, it is actually me doing the work. So I can't afford to pay somebody to do this work. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to build a brand new home.
Yeah.
really, honestly. So, so we're right now, the first year we've redone the first floor, with some major, components, new HVAC, roof, all new kitchen cabinets, flooring. This house was, built in the 50s. It's a well-built home. I love it, but it had 3/4 inch knotty pine paneling, tongue and groove on every wall. So that is all come down and has been replaced with drywall. So it's been a pretty long process.
What about the
And
wiring and plumbing? Everything good to go there?
that's all been updated as well.
Oh,
So
geez.
now we're working our way out. So then we're going to do an addition with another basement. That's the goal. So
Oh, holy cow. Yeah. You
yeah,
don't have any free time, do you?
not right now.
No. So, and another first is too, you're going to be, I think the first, because I'm getting let's back up here. I'm sorry. I'm stumbling all over myself. So you mentioned one of your local mentors was Dave Sparks. So Dave Sparks works for our fire department. And you're not wrong. Dave Sparks is absolutely one of the finest firefighters ever met. He's a battalion chief now. I was on his crew in his house. Never, ever was nervous in a fire that Sparks was at or Sparky was at. To this day, one of the best firefighters there is. He's just calm. He's and that old saying, jack of all trades, master of none. Sparky's actually master of all of them. You can you can go to Sparky and say, what's your favorite, like fire attack package, and he'll tell you hose stuff. And then you can say, how much does a C-130 weigh? And he'll go loaded or unloaded. He's super smart, knows it. And he's the guy that you're going to go to that people always talk to Sparky about shit, right? So one of the first is, his son is also a firefighter. Shout out to little motherfucker Aaron Sparks.
I don't look up to him. Yeah,
no
he
one
looks
does
up to me because he's so damn short.
He is so damn short, but he's going to be on here, so it'll be the first family one as well. Aaron is an excellent firefighter. I've mentioned him on here a couple of times. So it comes natural that you guys, it's in your blood to be firefighters, obviously. Let's talk a little bit about where you and I worked together recently, right?
Sure.
So what happened was, well, tell me what Clarksville came into possession of.
So we came into a real unique position for us. The town acquired some structures in an area that was no longer declared, I guess, habitable by structures or homes, people, flood zone, flood area, whatever you want to call it, floodplain. And then FEMA allowed a buyout, and the town was able to purchase that property for green space, and those structures had to be demolished. So my training coordinator, Jeff Spainire, I wish I had his energy and go get attitude, but he, normally when I've been involved in an acquired structure or a live burn, I've been a participant, not a planner, and it's only been one structure. Well, Clarksville Fire, more or less Jeff Spainire, decided to take on 5 acquired structures and have multiple days, weeks of live fire training with multiple departments. And so I said, what?
He was a new training officer, and he came out of the gate with all of that.
I mean, that dude's like a derby horse coming out of there. I'm like, he's wearing me out with it almost. But yeah, so great opportunity. Shout out to Jake Barnes, the host here, for leading us and making sure that we had a successful, safe live burn training. But yeah, we had 5 structures, lots of prep work. I think just as much prep work went into it physically as it did the live burn trainings. But we got to come together with Jeffersonville, Clarksville, New Albany, which, we're the Fall City Fire Departments here. And that was great. I think, the fire, some of the fire and stuff is the training was good. It was great for everybody. But I think as an older, I'm gonna call myself a little bit of an older firefighter now, for the department. I think what I take away from it is just coming together and working with other departments was just as important as the fire ground tactics and strategies that we were using. Just mingling together, talking to each other, networking. That's what we're really doing.
Right.
That is good. That's going to be beneficial for years on, in confidence and maybe in respecting each other on the fire grounds, and then not being afraid to call us mutually.
Right.
I think we've really erased the lines in this area. There's no more that, hey, this is New Albany's area, this is Clarksville's area, Jeffersonville's area. If we need help, customer service is the most important thing to us right now.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not too prideful to not call it another department, now. So.
Oh, absolutely. And it was 2 weeks of live burns, multiple agencies, like you said, and it came together very well. And I got to give a lot of credit to that to Spainhour. So the way it worked is I got contacted by you all. Since I teach 1403 live fire for the ISFSI, you said, hey, can you help us do these live burns? So we had several meetings planning. You were involved in every single step of the way. I don't remember any no's. Well, I remember one no you said. Everything else, you're like, yeah, let's do it. How do we figure this out? You had one no, and you broke that one no. You're the no I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, two no's. There was two no's.
Nobody gets hurt.
No, that's not even a question. But the second no was we invited the ATF to come down and do some actual case studies. And they wanted to know if they could use some explosive devices. And I said, hell no, because I'm not putting my name on that. But I was actually kind of, I was disappointed that they weren't able to come down. I know that, they have a lot going on, but I was really interested in seeing some of those studies that they were going to do with that. But maybe next time. But yeah. Doing
as many live fires as we did back to back. I mean, we must have done 50 when it was all said and done, 50 plus live fire burns in acquired structure, different acquired structures. So we had one particular, like we would start off in the morning, I believe this, a few times we did this, where we had, and I don't know if I've ever seen this, a fire behavior live fire burn where, and again, we followed 1403. And we would bring people in, and actually Aaron Sparks would give an excellent class in fire behavior. And one of the things he would do is he would tell the students, hey, I'm going to open this up on a short fog, to show you why we don't use fog streams, 9 times out of 10. And he would tell them what was going to happen, and it would happen. And now I'm going to use, a straight stream. Now watch what happens. And he's going to tell them what, once I open this up, these things are going to happen. And they did, because fire is predictable. So that was one of the first fire behavior live fire classes I've ever been in. And it was excellent. And we had search and rescue. We had just plain old fire attack. One of the last days we had ventilation, search and rescue, and fire attack all in one package. One of the things I learned was how important your sets are. Building sets. I know Josh Thompson was building nice sets. And of course we had our pre-burn plan. So we knew we had a limit of what fuel we could use because we didn't want to, obviously get anybody hurt, lose the building, any of that stuff. So I learned, one of the things I learned is all the different sets and how to make them location wise, material wise to benefit what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to do a fire behavior class, stacking them horizontally is great because it's it's a slower burn. It doesn't, the heat release rate's not as much as if you stack them, vertically. Yeah. That was pretty cool. And then go ahead.
I'd tell you one thing I think we both learned is how do you get multiple burns out of the same room? So how do you prep that room? Right. We first thought double sheeted drywall was going to be fine.
Yep.
And we learned about this after the second burn, it's not worth a crap.
Nope.
So
not at all.
we then went to, a wood product, and that is what really, the OSB, plywood, whatever you want to say, protected. We got a lot more burns out of those style prepped rooms than we did out of the double sheeted drywall.
Oh yeah. So that one water stream will take that double drywall off like that. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, that's the only way to do it, but nope. And then we started putting underneath the sets, we would have a sheet of a sheet of OSB. And then if it was in the corner, we'd have OSB in the corner. So basically we made like a little half box, and it saved the structure. It's part of the fuel package. OSB doesn't really doesn't really burn like people think it is. Like it's like, it's going to go up like that, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's
You'll get a little bit of off gassing that I noticed too with it,
yes, you
and
do.
which is really, really good for the fire behavior class.
Mhm.
That was really one good thing to see.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm trying to talk Aaron to make a class for him in Woodard to take around the country for fire behavior, because it was that good. I mean,
Can I be safety officer?
yeah. So we're doing all the planning for these things. I'm in the chief's office, and we're with, Major Spainhour, and I got the chief Brandon Skaggs across from me. And we're like, okay, we're going to need safety officer. Brandon's like, hey, I got this. I'll be your safety officer. And then as we started getting deeper in the weeds, we're like, well, we're going to need an interior safety too. So Brandon's like, I'll do interior safety. So you went in quite a few burns, according to
probably about 25 burns.
Yes, you did. And you never complained. You were in there getting it. Even though your safety, you were making sure that, they were instructing the right things. You're throwing in your 2 cents, monitoring the temperatures. One of the things we decided to do is monitor our temperatures through ticks, ceiling temperature, and face temperature. So we didn't want our ceiling to get over, I think it was 900. And at head level, we didn't want to get over 250. Now, did you find that hard to do, to maintain those 2 numbers?
No, I think we set our threshold at 1,300 is what it was.
Was that
1,000 ceiling, 300. Maybe it was 250 head. No, as long as everybody was acting appropriately, and what I mean by that is, when we're doing a fire behavior class, we're wanting to get a little bit of that roll over on us, and actually let some of those guys experience a little bit of heat on them. But if everybody was staying down and listening to their instructor, we were fine. There was a few times when we would go from setting the fire to actually calling in fire attack, where we had an internal safety line that Aaron Sparks and I utilized just to knock it down a little bit, just to keep it from getting what we were doing is really, it wasn't necessarily unsafe or hard to keep those temperatures, but we didn't want it extending into the structure so much, because we wanted to be able to get more burns out of it. But no, in a home that doesn't have the furnishings and everything, it wasn't hard to keep that. I think it would have been much harder if we had more fuel packages in there, and then if we had furnishings in there, that would have been it. I think it would just been we wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have gotten one, and we'd have flashed or something, But with nothing, no couches and no furnishings in there, it was very easy to control. It really was.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of people say you can't really have a good train or a good fire under 1403, but I think we proved that you absolutely can. You can follow 1403, still get good training, and still get, respectable heat, respectable fire.
Oh yeah.
I tell you one thing I learned big time, because that was the most acquired structures. Well, I think it for anybody be the most acquired structures they've done back to back. But I quickly learned, I'm used to fixed facility live fire, and a fixed facility building, my opinion, has no personality. The fire is pretty much going to act like the fire acts every time. We found out in acquired structures, these houses have personalities. They're going to act and react differently every single time. Even if you use the same set, the same everything, it's going to act a little different, which means your safety game has to be a little bit on top as well. Just like the double IC, the instructor in charge has to be on his game. But I learned that really quickly. I'm like, wow, acquired structures have a personality. And just because you'll be doing something wrong if you think, if I do this same set in the same corner every time, it's going to act the same, because it's not.
No, it's not. That's one thing I learned. Everybody makes a set a little differently. The way they, the way they pack it, the way they light it, that I've noticed. And, really for the acquired structures, well, let me take back. When my department trains in a fixed facility over at New Albany or at Monroe or something like that, very few times do I get nervous about it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much embedded safety in a fixed facility structure. These acquired structures, however, not that I was nervous about it, I was more cautious about it. I really wanted to be there myself, because at the end of the day, I want all of our firefighters being safe and not getting some type of injury to that maybe was career ending or even worse, and you really got to consider these acquired structures. You're fighting a real active structure fire, because at any point in time, it can go south and it can turn into, hey, from a training incident to a real live, not a real live fire, but a real fire incident.
Now, it can and did turn into a real fire incident, didn't it?
Yeah, I think I was gone that day though. But what did happen to us, if you remember, is during one of our fire behavior classes, most of my crew was all of my on-duty crew that day was involved in the fire incident. We got a knockout for a structure fire on Gufford Road, which is it was really neat because it was only a mile down the road. But then we got a second knockout, and then we got a third knockout. We had three basement fires going on the radio. And what it was a massive power surge that burned up water heaters and HVAC units in these homes. But it was kind of neat because all the guys were already suited up, they were already ready for a fire. And I think New Albany Fire was actually saying, hey, if they got 3 working fires, we're going too,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was overall by far in the last, since I've been 18 years old, that's been the best training that I've attended. And not because my department planned it, because it had so many major players from this area involved in it.
Right.
And that's really what I take away. Josh Thompson, your Jake Barnes, Jeff Spainhour and my guys, Aaron Sparks, all those guys really made this a successful training. And I know we got a roundtable coming up pretty soon, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, Saturday. Yep. Now, you didn't mention Daniel Moody, and I think it's because I think we should ban his name from our podcast forever. No Daniel Moody.
He was there every day.
He was.
That he was there on duty and off duty, and really has a lot of great experience that he brings. But I tell you, another thing about Daniel is he's got a lot of good experience with electrical work, and so that really helps us out a whole lot when we make calls with that deals with electricity, because he's an electrician.
Right. Well, you also have your major is an electrician.
Oh, yeah, Major Rudder, yeah,
Major,
an electrician also. Yep.
Shout out to Rudder Electric.
Rudder Electric, that's right.
Rudder Electric. If you need
All
electricity in your house, call Rudder Electric.
Rudder Electric.
Yeah. Unofficially the sponsor of 3-Point Firefighter. Kelly be like, no, take my name out of it. Does he
know about that?
No,
does he know about that yet?
He doesn't know that. And I'm never going to tell him. He's going to have to, well, he don't listen to my podcast. So who we kidding?
It's like Office Space. It just kind of worked itself out,
Yeah. So tell me real quick, behind you, I see, it looks like a locker. It says Skaggs on it. Why don't you tell me the story about that?
So that is one of, my father was a firefighter for Clarksville. After he was laid off, like I said, he was given another opportunity to come back, became a firefighter. And he said, years after he'd been on the fire department, he said that the layoff was the best thing that ever happened to him, because he got out of police work into the fire service and truly, enjoyed his job again. And he was a 25-year plus year member at Clarksville Fire Department. He worked himself up through the ranks, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and then, finally was in the fire marshal's office. And unfortunately, my father committed suicide in 2009. He was still an active member of our department, and I wasn't chief at that time. But that was a real tragic time for our department. And it took a while for me, more importantly, to recover from that. And really, recovery for me was going back to work, and because my father and I, we got a hell of an opportunity together. We got to work on the same truck, same shift for a long time.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
I was his engineer, and that was probably some of the best times I had in the fire service. Was my dad was captain of one of the engines, and I was the engineer, and we got to do a lot of fun stuff together. But in 2012, we built a brand new firehouse, and they were gonna move us out of Station 2, which is off of Lewis and Clark Parkway. And my dad's locker was there. It was spray painted with his name on it. And the chief of the time, I said, "Hey, what are you going to do with that building?" And they're not going to do anything with it. Probably going to be demolished. I said, "Can I have my dad's locker?" And he's like, absolutely. So I went in there, took the door off the locker, and so that's what's behind me right there. That was his. And so yeah, that's eventually gonna, when I get a home office that's as cool as yours, I'm gonna mount it on the wall. I'm gonna mount it on the wall, and I got his I got his last set of turnout gear and everything, and you know, make a little shrine for my dad.
That's nice.
Because we shared a lot of good moments, not only in the firehouse, but more importantly, you know, actually when I was riding the back seat, you know, we did a lot of firefighting together. You know, we made a lot of entry on stuff, and you think that, man, this guy that's sitting next to me, he's got my back. How do you feel when your dad's behind you? You know,
Yeah.
that's a good feeling, you know, to know that, because you know he's got you. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Now, did you call on the radio? Did you ever have fun with it and say, "Hey, Daddy"? Hey, Daddy, water's coming.
I'm gonna tell you what, my dad loved to have a good time. He did. He was he was a funny guy to be around, but no, I never did that. But he had some good practical jokes, I'll tell you that. And did. And he loved playing the practical jokes, not only on the fire department, but I mean, the police officers, you know, stop by the firehouse. Every chance he got, he was trying to get one of those police officers, you know, and that was some good times. It really was.
Good. But, well, it sounded like he got real smart when he didn't go back to the police department.
Yeah, I agree with him. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about mentors. You talked about a local mentor, which we both agree with. You know, Sparks, Captain Sparky, now Battalion Chief Sparky. What are some of your industry-wide mentors? And don't say Jake Barnes. I already know that one.
Yeah, you already know that one. And you know, a lot of people are probably going to say, "Oh, well, you know, that's the most common name, or one of the more common names." But Al Brunacini, and I mean, I know he's got a lot of people that look up to him. But you know, I actually got to sit down with this guy, and we were you know, face to face, and we had some in-depth conversations. And I did some command training with him and his sons.
Really?
And I did, yeah, out in Phoenix. I got out there, and really the Brett Tarver situation is what really got me interested in Al Brunacini, Chief Brunacini. You know, when that department lost Brett in that grocery store fire, what he did as a fire chief that day and the next days really impressed me. And that was, they're not going to hide anything about this incident. They are going to try to find out every single answer to what happened. More importantly, they're going to try to develop so it doesn't happen again.
Right.
And if you've ever dove into that story, you know, Chief Brunacini, he described Brett Tarver as, you know, I mean, he was just a big guy. He was strong. He was smart. And if it can get a guy like him, it can get any of us, you know. And really, the days of firefighters saying, "Hey, if you go down in a fire, I'm with you. I got you. I'm pulling you out." I'm gonna tell you, man, that sounds good, but when the shit hits the fan, it's going to take a coordinated effort to get a firefighter out, and to get a firefighter out safely. And you're probably going to have more maydays along the way, getting one firefighter out. And I don't know if, and I think a lot of our firefighters understand that, but I don't know if a lot of our other players understand that. And what I mean by that is commissioners and politicians and everything like that. I don't know if they really understand what goes into play, you know, on making sure that our firefighters are staying safe and rescued during a mayday. So that really got me in tune with it. And the next thing you know, I'm out in Phoenix, taking some command training, and I see the guest speaker for the day is Chief Brunacini. And this isn't a 100-member class. This is like 15 members sitting in a classroom. And so I consider that as most one-on-one. And I was in the back of the class because my grades were terrible. But no, I was in the back of the class, and so we had probably 6 more hours of training going on that day. And I had an open seat next to me, and he sat there next to me for the rest of the day. And during break and during class, he was talking to me. And you know, that guy, he was very intelligent. He was very smart. because he wanted to be the smartest person in the fire service that he could be. I mean, he's authored, NFPA articles. He's sat on NFPA boards. He's developed a whole fire command curriculum.
Oh yeah.
And employed it, So, when he became fire chief, he really wanted to be as smart as he could be for the fire service and for his department. I don't have the same passions as he had, but I can recognize that there are individuals like that, and he is one of those. And so I do look up to him for that.
He's like the godfather of the fire service. And you can talk about other firefighters, and some people might say, "I never heard of them," but most firefighters have heard of Alan Bruncini, and if they haven't heard of him, some of their SOGs and policies are directly because of Chief Alan Bruncini. So I remember, I don't know if they still have it, but I think he had and if you're listening in Phoenix, please let me know if this is true, but a policy or something about no smoke. You will have zero smoke in your body. Zero. An overhaul and fire attack outside, there's zero smoke tolerance at all. Because he saw what was happening to us.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but what I do know, I was talking to Nick, his son, and they used to call him Drillicini because every day was a drill day for Nick when he was captain on the truck. And then John Brunicini, he was the same way. But I think John was telling me that at a policy they had after 2 bottles, you're going home for the day.
Really?
I was like, how can they do that? How can they staff that? So I'd be interested to find that out too. So if you do get any responses on that, see if there's a 2 bottle limit per day.
Okay.
And if you're out of service, because I was told by by John, but I'm not sure if that's actually still policy and procedure out there or not. Yeah, the West Coast tactics, I was really amazed by it. I really was. They're moving to not even going on roofs, vertical ventilation. They're going to, because of the construction of the homes out there.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of basements, now you go to the East Coast, there are a lot of basements. And I think here in the Midwest, we got a mixture of both. So I'd say the Midwest, just personal opinion, no facts, is probably some of the most dangerous firefighting you're going to get because you got the way we're constructed,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And because we have a lot of balloon frame too. And I definitely hate balloon frame construction. If the fire's in the basement, it's in the attic. If it's in the attic,
Yep.
Chances are it's in the basement.
No
So Bruncini is awesome, is awesome. He's done enough. He's done so much for the fire service. It seems like everything came out of Phoenix for the longest time. Anything that we're doing now, you could track back to Phoenix. Now you have another, probably closer mentor, geographically speaking. Who's that?
Billy Goatfetter.
Man
and I've never got to meet him. So any interaction I've had has been just watching his videos, reading articles. I recently started watching some of his podcasts or not really podcasts, but videos. He's got a series on Fire Rescue One. It's called "What's Your Problem?"
Mm-hmm.
And man, that guy he just says what needs to be said sometimes, and it doesn't matter if you're a chief or a rookie or a probie, what I'm saying? He will address a chief the same way he will address a black hat also. Right. And I really respect that because as fire chiefs, we need to hear that stuff, as well as the rank and file. I just watched a video of his, it was called "What's Your Problem?" And it was talking about how do you get your chief to be more progressive in fire training, tactics and strategies and things like that. And he was really, it was a question that was wrote by I think a sergeant, and Billy really kind of gave that guy some good advice on how to approach his chief respectfully on, staying up to date with new tactics and new equipment, new strategies, and he really brought it together that, if you're a chief and you're not staying up to date on trainings and the newer methods of things, you really need to get some input from some of your younger generation firefighters. And so I really respect that guy a lot. I'd love to meet him. I know you got to meet him not too long ago.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I got to have dinner with him twice. It was one of the neatest experiences in my career. All my favorite experiences have come from working for the society, the International Society of Fire Service Instructors. And if you listen to my podcast, you know, I seen Pete Van Dorp and Chief Tony Carroll talking about ventilation and fire attack. And that was really awesome. But yeah, so Kaz, Brian Kazmerzak, we'll just call him Kaz. I can never say his name right.
Yeah.
Said, hey, you don't care if Billy comes to dinner, do you? Well, whatever. And then we go down to dinner and there's damn Billy Goldfeder and that great big old Walrus mustache. And I was like,
yeah,
I try not to fanboy when I meet these people. Like Forrest Reader, when I first met Forrest Reader, the only way I could not fanboy over Forrest Reader is I could not talk. I don't think I said 2 words to him. And my wife knows I'm a big Forrest Reader fan. And I've luckily since then become a friend of Forrest. You know, I consider him a friend, and you know, I've had many conversations with him. But the first time I met him, couldn't say a word. I wouldn't talk to him. And I was like, I was texting my wife. I'm sitting next to Forrest Reader. Same thing with Billy Goldfeder. I was like, man, I need to. Well, I mean, at the same meal too was, you know, Rob Blassetti. You know, I had, you know, Michael
you had a hell
Boston.
of a.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's me, and I'm like, God, just don't ask me a question, please.
I mean, it's like when I looked at your Facebook and I seen all those faces around there, I felt like, you know, that's like you got Robert De Niro, you got Joe Pesci,
Yeah.
you know, you got all these huge actors that just go together so well and made so many, like, you know, career films together. That's who you had sitting at that table. You had the Power 9 there, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, man, I'd love to meet him. Hopefully I get the chance sometime to meet up with him. You know, I watched a long time ago. He had a series called The Beat Goes On. And you know, it was some people may think it's cheesy or whatever, but his points were on point. You know, talking about, you know, when you're a rookie firefighter or you're being hired, your reputation is already known before you even come to the firehouse.
Yeah.
And the first time you screw up, every station's going to know within a half an hour.
Sure.
You know, and just listening to some of the things he's talked about, he was just right on point. And I really grabbed a hold of that. And, you know, talking about, you know, making sure that you have working radios, put your damn seatbelt on, you know, just the little things that we're dying of, you know, physical fitness, you know, maybe we can hit that here in a little bit, a new program that we've started at Clarksville Fire. You know, a lot of these important things that you don't hear out of that generation of firefighter, if you ask me, you know, here local, you know, those are some of those things that he's talking about really has come out of the younger generation of firefighters, if you ask me. I think he's just not scared enough he's not scared to say anything.
No,
when it comes to the benefit of the fire service and the employee, he's not scared to say it. So I really respect him for that.
It's easy to watch his videos. It's easy to read his stuff, and you know he loves the fire service. I mean, he really truly loves the fire service, like it's one of his children.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting there and he's talking, like he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to somebody across the table. We had like 8 of us at this table, and the passion, dude, it's like when you listen to Sean Duffy or Nick Peppard or these guys talk about it, they're never, ever, ever talking about themselves. Not even a little bit. They're talking about, dude, you all, you know, the fire service, the firefighter. And you got that very, very much from everything he said. He said he's going to be on here. I've talked to him. I can't wait to get him on. I will say this. So I was teaching, he was actually in the class I was teaching. Okay. He was one of the students, and his son was one of the students. So it was a basement fire class. And the first part of the day, you rotate in these different stations. So he came to my station. Now he was like the 3rd group in my station. So I had my patter down pretty good, you know, felt really comfortable. And I completely forgot. A student asked me something very basic. Like if somebody said, hey, how do you drink a glass of water? And Billy Goldfeder was right next to the guy. And I was like, I turned and looked about to answer, and I completely blanked because I saw Billy Goldfeder like 3 feet from me taking a class. I was the instructor, and I was like,
don't mess this up.
I totally messed it up. And then he answered the question for me. And I was like, that had another 15 minutes of teaching. And I was like, inside my brain, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. Oh my goodness. So tell me about this. Let's switch gears real quick.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of physical fitness. I'm not huge, obviously, but I think it's important for firefighters. I don't think it's important. I think it should be mandatory that we be in good shape. I'm not talking about, bodybuilders like, Sam Havern's a bodybuilder. He's fantastic shape, right? I'm not saying everybody has to be like that, but
Functional.
fitness, I think we should have strong cardio, strong legs, strong back, strong shoulders. I think mentally you've got to be prepared to realize that you got to smash through your own barriers. You can't, I've always said this, you can't quit a fire just because you're tired. You can't say, you know what, we tried our best, let's go. And then you drive away and the fire is still going. So tell me what you guys had and where you're at now with your physical fitness program.
So in a nutshell, what we had was nothing. We had nothing. And when I became fire chief in 2016, there was, the first thing I did was I pulled a file of a firefighter that we had that got killed, or he died in the line of duty. I pulled that file because I wanted to know what happened. And I know there was a NIOSH report. I wanted to see what the recommendations were directed with that file. And what it was is we had a firefighter that had 30 plus years on the job, was carrying a ladder at a fire scene, started acting real funny, collapsed, went into cardiac arrest. Not saying that his lifestyle off duty didn't, add to that, but we had a recommendation from NIOSH that we employ or phase in a mandatory wellness fitness program. And, that's a really tough thing. That's a really tough thing to take on as a fire chief if you've had nothing. We're starting from ground zero. And because what happens is you have a lot of fear that comes with that, and the fear is that we're going to create a punitive policy or protocol that you're gonna be held responsible if you can't do what we say. Hey, we say, hey, you need to do 50 push-ups and whatever, and you can't do that. And now is that firefighter in fear of losing their job, being suspended, losing their promotion opportunity, something like that? And the answer is no, it's not. You're not in danger of being held punitively again, for that. However, if you're actively trying to improve yourself, that's your safeguard. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to hear this name again, Jeff Spainhour.
Ooh, shout out to Jeff.
My training coordinator. He came to me. He said, "Hey, we have to get we got to get a physical fitness program going." And I said, "Jeff, I agree with you. And honestly, as fire chief, I do not know how to get going. I didn't have the answers for it, and so I relied on Jeff. I relied on a guy named Tim Cook, Becky Osterritter. These people are on our department, and they're professional fitness coaches here locally. They own businesses. They're in a lot of the CrossFit type style physical fitness, but they help put a program together, and it is a mandatory program. It lasts for about an hour and a half each duty work day for a firefighter, and it's led by Jeff Spainhour and those fitness coaches. And it's functional fitness. So we just started off with walking. We did just walking in an air pack, not on air. And we build on that. So after the walking, we had some stretches, some yoga that some of the coaches had put together for us. And then we worked up ourselves to doing like a circuit where we're doing walking, stretching. We're then working on a Kaiser sled that we have. We're doing some stairs, using the pike poles, to simulate, pulling ceiling, things like that. And really, honestly, the membership it's just really taken off. It really has. It's been a good contagious thing in the fire department for us.
So how do you hit everybody as far as, so you say there's nothing punitive, but let's say I'm on your department, Jake Barnes on your department, and I'm a bag of shit. And you're like, there's no punitive. I'm not going to get in trouble. Fuck it, I ain't going to do it.
Well, so as long as you're participating and you're participating appropriately. So if you just come out and say, hey, I'm not doing it, then you're in policy violation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it is a policy that you have to follow. But if you're not following a policy, then you're in violation. But if you're following a policy and you're trying to improve and hit, you're trying to make everyone has you're competing against yourself. So firefighter A is not competing against firefighter B, so if firefighter A can do, whatever, 25 push-ups, but firefighter B can only do 10, but he's actively trying, or she's actively trying to improve, then you're hitting your marks. And really the goal is just to prevent, unneeded injury and death on these fire scenes. Or, a lot of these firefighters are going home and having a heart attack within 24 hours of their last shift,
Yes,
and that's really what, is what we're trying to avoid. I think this policy that we've created really requires some complex thinking on the firefighter. You really have to stop thinking about yourself, and you have to start thinking about your fellow firefighters, your customers, and more importantly, your family. Right. Because I don't want to be 42 years old, fight a room and content fire, come home, go to sleep, and not wake up, because I didn't prime the pump. And that's what I call it. Paul Finch, guy at Jeffersonville Fire Department. I don't know if you know him or not.
Oh, yes.
Dude's a beast. I mean,
shredded, strong, but he wasn't always that way.
No, he wasn't. Dude's got a story. You ought to get him on here, because where he's come from physically is amazing, and been a little bit of a inspiration for me as well. Now I'm not nowhere near his shape, but he's really shown people what you can do if you take it seriously. Now he may take it more seriously than most, which I'm sure he does. But
I will say he's a beast.
He is. But it's really, you got to think about more than just yourself on this. And it was tough. You get beat up by it, because you're taking a group of guys and girls that have a set routine, and you're breaking that routine for a new one. And right. It's tough, and it's still tough, but they're doing it, and they're doing it well. I had one of your probably more favorite Clarksville firefighters the other day.
Brent Wilson?
Major Hansford. No, Brent Wilson. Yeah.
Oh, Hansford's another favorite of mine. Yes. Big shout. So for those that don't know Hansford, he's awesome. He was the training officer before Spain Hour. Crazy intelligent, crazy fire intelligent. Oh, I love me some Hansford. But if I had to shoot one of them in the leg, I have to shoot one of them or they both die. I would probably shoot Hansford in the foot, so Brent Wilson doesn't get hurt at all. I'll put it out there so he knows.
Oh yeah, we can't have Wilson getting hurt. That's my surgeon. That's my surgeon, man. That's my surgeon. I'll talk about why I call him the surgeon later. But no, so Michael's a pretty fit guy, and he's really taken this physical fitness program to he's just skyrocketed with it. The crew that he's with now, they're not only doing our workout, but they're doing their own workout. Because ours is not hard enough, So he works with Becky. She's, like I said, she's a professional training coach. Mm-hmm. Guy named Firefighter Kyle Brown. He's a rookie, but the dude he's ripped. He's got a great attitude towards physical fitness. One of our other newer firefighters, we call him Coasty. He's a retired chief out of the Coast Guard. He got hired at like 40, almost 41 years old, but he runs Ironmans. He runs 100-mile marathons. And so you got this one crew that is just really just taking off. And so I seen Michael running down Stansford Avenue the other day as I was passing the fire station. And I just thought, oh, okay, he's just getting a few laps in. He ran a mini while on duty. He ran a mini marathon while he was on duty.
Oh, geez.
And he was running like a 0.3 of a mile loop. So he did this 0.3 of a mile loop. I mean, I don't know how many times. Yeah. So he ran, over 13 miles, and I'm like, damn. I mean, that's some dedication. So maybe this program has sparked something for some of the guys and girls, in their personal life. For me, I was about in 2020, I was 300 pounds. Mm-hmm. I was way out of shape. My cardio was terrible. More importantly, I became type 2 diabetic. And that is really what has inspired me. I've lost 80 pounds. I still got 25 more to go. That's been the toughest so far.
25 more pounds? Doesn't look like you need to lose 25.
Yeah, I would like that put me at 200. That'll put me. That's my goal. That's where I feel. I think I'll feel the best.
I think it's easier to get taller than, to hit that weight range than it is to lose the weight. I'm trying to do that. So I could lose a little bit of weight, but I'm focusing on trying to gain about 4 inches height. So
how's that going?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I've had nothing but bad ideas. I got married twice. That the fuck was I thinking on that one? Had multiple children or sex trophies. I like to call them sex trophies. Every time an animal dies in this house, we get another goddamn animal. So, making good decisions is just not my thing. It just isn't. Yeah. Now, I will go back real quick to Hansford. I got to tell you about Hansford. Love me some Mike Hansford. When I first got promoted and I was a training officer 8 or 9 years ago, I met with Michael, and he stuck his hand out. He goes, "Congratulations on your promotion." I said, "Thank you." He goes, "I hope you like getting kicked in the nuts."
Yeah.
Boy, he wasn't wrong.
No, I mean, I think, especially when you're in those admin positions, it really, you gotta, it's like riding a roller coaster, man. You're up when things are going good, you're up high, and but eventually that's going to pass.
Yep.
And there's going to be a low moment. I watched something last night, had Tom Hanks. He was like,
I saw it. A round table.
Pass.
Yes, this too shall pass. He goes, that's when you're not only when you're going through something bad, but keep in mind when you're going through something good, this too shall pass.
Dude, what better advice can you get right now from one of the actors? I'm like, damn, I'm going to use that. And yeah, no shit. That was I've learned so much being in this position for the last 6 years. I really have. And what I've had feelings of, man, I'm running this thing. I'm running the hell out of this department. And I've had days where I'm like, I don't know if I'm in charge of anything, And it's like just those emotions you go through, where things feel great. And then boom, you can have one little incident just, man, really rock the boat. And it feels like you're doing a downward spiral and like, oh my God, it's over, you're more of a politician than you ever thought about being, whether you want to be one or not, know, and, I mean, there's just so much I've learned. And, one thing I'm trying to really focus on right now is not bringing that into my home. I've brought a lot of stuff into my home, into my family, and because they can tell when I've had a bad day or a good day. I like bringing the good stuff home, but I'm really just focusing on not bringing that bad stuff home sometimes and affecting them more than we have to.
Yeah, but you could go home perfectly good mood, having a good day. An hour later, after you're at the house, you get a phone call. Mm-hmm. And shit turns sideways quick, fast, and in a hurry.
And honestly, it's not typically 99% of the time, it's not because we have a fire.
Right.
Here's my saying. I will take a house fire over a personnel issue any day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh my. It's some of the personnel issues you can see. Okay. There's some, and this has been my experience too, by the way, probably more my experience than anything. There's some things as an administrator you see coming down the road a million miles away. Oh, somebody's late to work. You're like, well, I can see that. Maybe somebody got a divorce or drinking a little bit more than they should. And you can't, they're late to work. And you see all that stuff. So it's not a big deal. But then out of the blue, you'll get a personnel problem like, well, did you hear about Larry? He stole a giraffe out of the goddamn zoo. And then he rode it down the street. You're like, wait, what? He was wearing a Clarksville Fire Department shirt on. Some of the personnel stuff is just bizarre.
It is. And it's like, there's not a policy and a procedure for everything. There's not. That's what I think I've learned. And we don't want that because we'd never be able to follow them anyway. There'd be so damn many of them.
Exactly.
But yeah, there's a lot of firsts that you go through as an administrator or a fire chief. And one thing I've learned is sleep on it. There's really, I mean, unless you got to take a guy out of service, take him off the truck for safety reasons.
So you didn't mean kill him, right? You're not talking about shooting him. Okay. I wasn't sure. No. I wasn't sure. Got to clarify.
But there's not too many things we come across as chiefs and administrators that we can't sleep on.
That's good
not going to
advice.
make a huge difference if I sleep on this in the next 12 hours because, you know, you may make a better decision that could affect someone's livelihood. You know, if you have that knee jerk reaction, and really, man, depend on your deputies. You know, depend on your ops chiefs and your deputy chiefs and your fire marshals. I mean, you know, they give you some of the best advice. You know, I mean, as fire chief, I'm not the smartest person in the department. I can tell you that right now. You know, because if I was, I wouldn't be fire chief.
But neither is
I'd be
Daniel
fire
Moody,
marshal.
right?
Yeah.
I know you're listening, Daniel. That's a bust on you. And you got to say the fire marshal is the smartest guy in the world, right?
Man, he's technical. He's technical. He's I call Brent Wilson my surgeon, and the reason I call him my surgeon is because I'll give him a problem or something to investigate or look at, and he takes it apart piece by piece, just like somebody rebuilding your knee or you know, operating on your heart piece by piece, and it is quality work every time that he does it. I mean, so much. I mean, he's so thorough. I'm like, I don't see where he finds the time to do what he does. Right. I really don't. And I don't see how, if I could manage my time the way he does, oh man, we'd be progressing a lot faster. But he's unique. Not everyone has a Brent Wilson. And,
no, he's the only one. Usually you can look at different departments and say, oh, that guy reminds me of this, or this guy reminds me of this. Brent doesn't remind me of anybody. He is very, very, and I mean that in a good way. Oh, he is. He really is.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a pioneer for me. And really, honestly, you know, my biggest fear with Brent is retainment.
Right.
How do I keep a guy like this? You know,
because now I've heard if you give him a picture of me every week, that makes him happy. Yes. Yes.
Nah, I'm going to try that.
Oh, I'm going to try that. I promise.
But yeah, man, he's one of the biggest assets that we got for our community. And really, you know, I can't ask for any better quality work out of a fire marshal. And I just wish I had more of them, you know.
Well, Clarksville, and I swear to God, I'm not blowing smoke, has some of the finest firefighters. I love working with them. I bash on Moody. I love me some Moody. You know, you got Brent, you got all these guys. Honestly, you have all the pieces and parts of a great department. You really, really do. You look at a big department, small departments, they all want these kind of people. And I think that you have them. Now in my department, I think we got a lot of quality people too. Don't get me wrong. It's always easier, you know, grass is always greener on the other side. So that's why I always talk about Clarksville. I've worked with them a lot, worked with you a lot, and just a quality department, quality leadership.
I tell you, you know, when we utilize mutual aid more than New Albany, of course, and Jeffersonville. And, you know, really, we had an apartment fire 6 months ago now, multiple victims, you know, multiple units that were involved. And, you know, I'm not afraid to strike a second alarm, you know, and bring another department over. And it's a good feeling knowing that you got neighbors like New Albany and Jeffersonville when they pull up, and the confidence that they bring with themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's a great, when you're sitting back and you're looking at a scene, you know, from a command standpoint, and you have zero tactical reserve. And what I mean by that is you have nobody available. And then you see, you know, engine 43 and engine 3 or engine 2 or whatever pull up, and you're like, hell yeah, I got some good guys coming up here right now that I know that I can put right to work, and you know, have all the confidence in the world in their work. You know, it's a good feeling.
It is. And, you know, I know all three of us work really, really well together. And I think it's safe to say that Southern Indiana is covered. We got this shit covered.
Yeah.
I can't speak for the damn police. I have no idea about that shit, but I'm telling you from a fire standpoint, oh yeah, we got this.
Yeah. One thing I've learned though, is there's not one department that can do it all.
No.
There's something, there's always, there's always something that a fire department needs from a neighbor.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, I think it's a good attitude to have, is we can't do it all. We do need our neighbors.
Yes.
We need to stay networked as firefighters. And,
Absolutely.
cause there's going to come a time when, New Albany might need a diver or they might need a swiftwater team. You know what I'm saying? That
absolutely
we may have that resource available, and, yeah. So staying in good graces with our neighbors is real important to me as a firefighter here at Clarksville.
Well, and again, what I'll try to do is send pictures of myself to all of your people on a regular basis to keep that brotherhood going.
That'd be very helpful.
Well, and I've got some artistic shots of me too that I probably I won't go across the internet, but I'll just mail them directly. They're interesting. They're interesting to say the least.
I can only imagine.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. I just look like a big old pile of melted ice cream. Well, Chief, it has been great having you on my show. I've been trying to get you on here for a while. I bugged you to the point where I was afraid I pissed you off, but I mean it from my heart, man. You're one of the best fire chiefs I've seen in action, but I do have a challenge for you before I go. Okay.
What's that?
It's a blind challenge. You have to accept it or not accept it. That's it.
I mean, the worst thing is going to be failure. So, I mean,
okay. So are you saying send it? Say send it and I'll tell you my challenge.
Send it.
All right, here we go. I want you to put down on paper, write an article on basics of being a good fire chief, because I think you've got that down pat, and I think you need to share that with the rest of the industry. I think you're great for Clarksville, but I think you've got the skill set that you need to share it. And I think you could make a difference in a lot of people's lives if you just write an article, submit it on basics of being a good fire chief, because brother, you got that down pat.
Well, I tell you, I appreciate that, but it's definitely a team effort. It really is. I'm not the best, and I'm just trying to keep learning. I try to keep learning as much as I can, because you really have to. The goal is, and Brent Wilson told me this, is to make this a better place when I leave it.
Mm-hmm.
I got to start training or looking for someone to be fire chief. Because I'm not going to be there forever, and really, some guys are like, aren't you paranoid about, so-and-so wants to be fire chief? Hell no. I'm glad they want to be fire chief.
Sure.
We should want people to be fire chief, because if they want to be fire chief, then they're probably doing everything they need to be doing, really.
Yeah.
So I don't take it as a threat. I don't take it as a competition. Hey, I'm chief right now. I'm going to have to keep working to keep it. I just try to keep doing the right things. But who do you want me to submit that article to? Who do I submit it to? Who do you want me to submit that article to? You?
No, well, I'll tell you what, I've got a couple contacts for my articles. We'll jump over that bridge when we get a chance. But I want you just to write the article, because I swear to you, it's going to take off, because I think you have that internal ability to be a leader just right off the bat. Not everybody has that. I know I don't have that, but I really think that you need to write a nice article, and we will submit it. I'll help you. But I really do. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke. I really think that you've got, just like a Bruncini or a Goldfeder, a Pete Van Dorp, all these just innate leaders, and they share their gift. I think you should too.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll try my best. How about that?
I'll give you a hint right off the bat. I found this out. Motherfucker is hyphenated. So just let you know.
Hey, thank God for Grammarly.
Thank God for Grammarly.
I don't know if you use it, but it's great.
Oh, every article I've ever written, I use Grammarly. Oh, the bad thing is it's on the internet. So every time I go on the internet to do anything, I always eventually end up at Pornhub. But I got to go in there and turn it on well, that's a whole nother story. Brother, Thanks for being on 3-Point Firefighter. I look forward to seeing you in the future. I'll see you next Saturday, actually.
Yep, and next Saturday.
Stay safe, brother.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
Bye.